Welcome to the world of Harry Smilac.
Harry Smilac, personal management, at your service.
A world of fancy cars and fabulous women.
Have you ever considered a career in modeling?
He's got everything money can buy. The trouble is, it's not his money.
Mr. Kim from the Busan Savings and Loan, Vice President. Corrections.
Corrections?
I correct money from deadbeats like you.
He's a mover
Yeah. Hey, look at this here.
and a shaker.
I've been thinking about our relationship.
What relationship?
Hi.
A wheeler
I'm Harry Smilac. Ow!
and a dealer.
So, tell me, does my man have a t-shirt or a shoe deal?
He's a legend.
Whatever it is, the answer is absolutely none.
What do you want from me?
$67,811.19 to be very specific.
Then, one day, he took some punks
What do you think is the number one thing on M. Harry Smilac's mind?
M. Harry Smilac.
added some hunks,
You're a dead man, Smilac.
and created rock and roll wrestling.
You don't have to thank me. It's just another Smilac service.
A comedy with muscle. Body Slam.
Oh, hey, guys. Trust me.
Hello and good evening, and welcome to the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast, our debut episode. It is Wrestlemania Weekend, so why not go ahead and do a wrestling movie? Joining me tonight is Matt from the Matt and Monsters Wrestling Podcast on the Owlite Network. What's up, Matt?
How's it going, everybody?
Doing great tonight. We have a really good movie on here for you. A movie that I grew up watching. Really 80s rock and wrestling. We got Body Slam. But first, let's talk some horror. Let's talk some horror movie news and haunted house news. For those who don't know, me and Matt are haunted house actors. In case you didn't figure out from my profile picture, we both work at Hell's Dungeon in Dayton, Ohio. Matt, of course, is Props the Clown, and I am Coney. So, starting off the horror news tonight, Matt, have you seen any of the pictures of Christian Bale as Frankenstein and Maggie Gyllenhaal as the bride?
Oh man, yeah, they look absolutely fantastic, man. I can't wait for that movie.
You might be in the minority on that. I'm indifferent to it. In all honesty, I'm more concerned with how because I did the same thing when Dark Knight came out. And the Joker, they showed the Joker make. I was like, oh, that's gonna be so horrible, and it ended up being one of the greatest portrayals of the Joker of all time.
Yeah.
But social media has gone like bonkers. They mostly hate the look.
Well, I mean, it's hard to mess up Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, man.
It is. I'm that. Well, the problem is everybody's comparing it to Jared Leto's Joker. They say it looks just like the Joker. And again, they hired. Now let's remember that they hired the Joker, the makeup crew from the Joker, to do the makeup for this movie. So, it's kind of gonna look like the Joker. And like I said, I'm gonna wait till the movie comes out to make my opinions on it. But you say you like it though, right?
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah, one of the biggest thing I think people are asking is why does Frankenstein have a tattoo? And if you actually read the synopsis of the movie, it seems like it's going to take place. I want to say modern time, but I think I did read somewhere it's going to take place in the 1930s, where people still got we're starting to get tattoos more.
Yeah.
More normally in the 1930s for World War II. But it's going to be interesting when it comes out. I'm still going to give it a chance. Maggie Gyllenhaal is directing, and it's funny, but there's two Frankenstein movies coming out. One is, of course, The Bride, who's starring Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster. That is not Frankenstein, but Guillermo del Toro is making a Frankenstein movie as well.
What?
Yeah, dude, I'm actually going to be looking more forward to that one than this, only because Guillermo del Toro, his cinematography and his artwork and the costumes and designs that he does are always outlandish and they're amazing.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there.
So yeah, there's both of those movies coming out this year. There's another movie I am on the fence about. I don't know how many people have heard of the movie Night Bitch. Um, it's a movie starring Amy Adams, and it tells the story of a woman thrown into a stay-at-home routine of raising a toddler in the suburbs. Basically, I guess she's a businesswoman or a working mom that becomes a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
But she slowly embraces the feral power, though deeply rooted in motherhood, as she becomes increasingly aware of the bizarre and undeniable signs that she may be turning into a dog.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it kind of just seems like they're trying to make a dramatic version of the Shaggy Dog. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that one?
I mean, that I guess the name gets played into the the character, I guess. I mean, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, just Night Bitch. People
You
are
would
gonna go into this movie
coming out
thinking.
soon.
Go ahead.
You would
What's
think
that?
that's like you would think like that's like a 70s 80s movie, not
Oh, 100%.
recent.
Well, I mean, is it any different than a couple of years ago? Right about 10 years ago now. We rented a movie at Blockbuster called Bitch Slap.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. So name aside, I don't know how big of a fan I am of the premise. 'Cause that's literally the premise from IMDb I just read to you.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. And finally, with horror movie news, there's really not much this week. The Saska twins have a new movie that just debuted on Tubi today. It is almost like an homage to George Romero and Night of the Living Dead. The movie is called Festival of the Dead. It is live on Tubi right now. For anybody who wants to watch it tonight, I personally will be watching SmackDown, the go home show before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But so the premise of this, and it seems this one actually does. I am going to watch this because it's the Saska twins. Um, they're known for doing bloody, gory movies. But while attending a festival to commemorate the original zombie attack, Ash and her friends encounter the living dead and must fight back or be devoured.
So is this kind of like a Day of the Dead type situation here, or?
It's a continuation of I guess the Dead storyline, or the Dead timeline, because you have, of course, the original trilogy, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
In the late 2000s, early 2010s, they actually came out with a few more movies that I think Romero himself directed one. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm completely forgetting City of the Dead from the 90s. That was actually directed by Romero. But there's also like an Island of the Dead. There's like a couple other Dead movies that came out. I off the top of my head, I cannot remember them.
Oh yeah.
But one of the interesting things about this is it takes place 55 years after the original Night of the Living Dead. In the trailer, it kind of seems like they've got the dead situation handled, or at least like contained.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the interesting things is one of the main character, I guess the final girl or whoever you want to call her, is the actress playing. Basically, the main character is going to end up being the granddaughter of Ben. Ben was the African American gentleman in the movie who basically is the hero of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, Dwayne Jones played the original character. Tony Todd played it in the remake, which the remake is so good as well.
You gotta love Tony too, man.
I do. Tony Todd's awesome. He's also the nicest guy in the world when you meet him. But what's your opinion on that?
I feel like we got too many of the Dead movies, man. I feel it's getting a little washed out, but I feel like this one could have could leave a good mark.
Yeah, I mean it is a little crowded on the dead movies, and some of them are pretty bad. Um, but I think this will actually be pretty good. Honestly, I like the Soska twins. I like the premise of it being the daughter.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hey, could you do me a favor and go to Twitter and give Raz a link to the podcast he wants to watch and support
Yeah.
us?
On Twitter or
Yeah.
Facebook?
Twitter. I wasn't able to put it on Facebook.
Oh,
On
you're good.
Twitter,
You're good.
yeah. It's under the Bloody Binge Podcast.
Okay.
Behind the scenes, folks. But anyways, that is the end of our horror movie news. We're gonna move into some haunted house news once we get everything situated with Raz watching. All right, so haunted house news. How about some local news first? And my link went away. So Fear in Columbus is going to be doing a combat laser tag at some point this month. Where I'm assuming you're going to be shooting zombies.
Oh wow. Hey, that's a
Yeah.
creative idea out there, man.
Yeah, here it is. Nightmare Combat returns May 3rd to 5th to Columbus, Ohio at Fear Columbus. You can use cutting edge weapons to battle your worst nightmares. You will journey through a 40,000 square foot immersive environment featuring 50 live performers, Hollywood quality sets, concert level audio, and lighting systems. I mean, that just sounds badass.
Oh yeah, it does.
I mean, I know I haven't been able to go through Fear yet. I know they always put on an amazing show. At Christmas, they do this giant fireworks display like once an hour.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a fun time. So May 3rd through 5th in Columbus, Ohio at Fear. Check them out. It's gonna be great. I think. How about this one? Okay, little more known to a lot of people out there. Universal Studios has announced that Halloween Horror Nights will actually begin earlier this year. They are announcing the start date of August 31st.
August 31st. That's really early for Horror Nights.
I think it's going to be because Labor Day's early. I think it might be a little earlier this year, and they usually start the weekend of Labor Day. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, I'm thinking that's what it is. Prices have gone up though. For a single night ticket, you're going to spend $82.99 per person. Which the price is high, but for the amount of entertainment you get at Horror
Yeah.
Nights. I mean, I've never been to Halloween Horror Nights, but watching the videos and everything that goes on, it's just such a great experience. If you want to add Express, though, you can add another $40 at $129. So for a single night ticket plus an Express pass, it's $129.
Yeah, and it's Universal Studios too, man, and they just have a great theme park in general. So you're paying for great stuff.
You are now. Keep in mind, this is $82.99 is only for Halloween Horror Nights. They do kick everybody out of the park before they open up for Halloween Horror Nights. And then unless you're like a season pass holder. But they're also offering an RIP tour. They did this. I know they've done this before. But with the RIP tour, it's basically somebody walks you around to all the haunts. You get to skip the line at one time per haunt and the shows. You get free valet parking, reserved seating to live shows, pre-tour reception at Cafe La Bamba, and a tour lanyard and pin. How much would you put that at, Matt?
Oh, shoot. For all that stuff, are we including the ticket price?
Yeah, it's the ticket price. You get to skip the lines, all that good stuff.
Probably around 300.
You're close. $359.99. Which
Honestly, that's not a bad price.
Not for what you get. I mean, being able to skip the lines, because these, from what I hear, these haunted houses, like it's almost to the point where you can't make it. You're not going to make it into every single haunt if you go to Halloween Horror Nights, unless you get an express pass, because these haunts get like 3 or 4 hour waits.
Yeah.
You want to see the shows, you want to see the ride. Get if you want to get on any rides or anything that are actually open, because a lot of them are closed because a lot of the haunts take place like inside of the rides. And then right now, actually, I think they're doing this either right now or they're going to start it soon. They have a Halloween Horror Nights Behind the Screens Unmasking the Horror Tour, where you get to take a daytime VIP tour for a lights-on look at Halloween Horror Night haunted houses. There are 2 separate tours. One is a 3-hour tour. One is a 6-hour tour. I think the 3-hour one is $99. I really didn't see a price for the 6-hour or 6-house one. I'm sorry, I'm saying 3 hours. It's 3 houses, or you get to go through 6 houses. For $99, that's actually pretty cool too. But that's
Yeah,
going
that
to be on,
is.
yeah, but that'll be on top of the ticket price and that. So once again, good things happening down in Orlando. And finally, something I just learned: Six Flags Magic Mountain in California, in Valencia, California, right outside of Los Angeles. They are running their Scream Break events, where from March 22nd through the 13th. It's an after-hours event. It runs from 9 to midnight and includes 2 haunted houses, 3 scare zones, exclusive food, and 2 DJs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's something I think I've always said more places, more haunts, more theme parks, and that need to do more about yeah, Raz, it is still cheaper than Disney.
And yeah, everything's cheaper than Disney.
Yeah, I mean you're gonna to go to Disney, you're gonna spend almost $1,000. You better just plan to spend $1,000 if you're going to Disney.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but basically it's an after, like I said, it's after hours event. To get in, it's only $40.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's limited reservations online for pass holders, and the park on a first come first served basis. But one of the positive things about this too is we live in Dayton, the Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati area. Let's not forget that Six Flags and Cedar Fair have just merged to make one giant theme park company.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get something at Kings Island that will do halfway to Halloween.
Man,
Especially,
they need that. They need that. Their haunted houses during this scare fest or whatever it's called now.
Mhm.
They go so quick that it's really hard to have actors excel in there with just a limited amount of time because you got so many people going through. And if they make it a bigger spectacle, man, they can do so much more.
Well, see, the problem with the reason why they have to push people through is because there's so many people waiting to get in, and they want to push as many people through as possible. But it gets to the point where, like you just said, you can't scare anybody. You know, if anybody's walked through an amusement park, I'm not just talking about Kings Island, I'm talking about all amusement parks. It's pretty much they just turn, look at you in their mask or their makeup, and then they go back to their spot, wait a couple more groups, and then pop out again.
Yeah, you don't really get an interaction. You just get a pop scare and you can tell sometimes that just they're not motivated enough, and they're just too tired because there's so many people going through at once.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, that's perfect, man. That's perfect. What you just said is get, um, you don't get to, you don't get the interactions with anybody. Like you just said, that's one of the benefits. That's one of the positive things about a haunted house is getting to interact with the characters. That's I'm in the elevator. I get a lot longer of a time with people than most people in the haunt do.
Yeah.
Especially at Hell's Dungeon. I have almost a full 30 seconds with these people. So with the customers, so I get to interact a lot more than you do in your scene. Or even like the firewoods or something like that. They're interacting and they're just still walking, and they're trapped in a room with me for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it
Especially
makes
being trapped in the room with Coney does not sound like a fun idea.
nah, it's incredibly fun. I'm totally not stabbing people tonight with an ice cream cone. But yeah, man, that's all the horror movie news and the haunted house industry news that I could find this week. So hopefully the next time we come to you in 2 weeks, we'll have a little bit more. So let's talk Body Slam.
Wait. We can't
What's that?
forget about Beetlejuice, man.
Beetlejuice 2, yes. Oh, you know what? That is another piece of news I forgot. So they announced today that Wednesday will not the series Wednesday on Netflix will not be debuting their season 2 this year in October.
Oh,
They've actually pushed it back till spring of next year, but for a very good reason. So basically, of course, Tim Burton is directing both Wednesday and Beetlejuice. He's been a little busy this spring and summer, filming Beetlejuice and that. But also, of course, Jenna Ortega who is Wednesday, is playing Lydia's daughter in the new one. So yeah,
phenomenal actress, by the way. Like she is taking horror characters by storm, man. And she's doing such an excellent job.
Oh, she really is. I think I read somewhere last year, like the whole thing with that creepy stare that Wednesday has, that's just her ability not to break.
Yeah.
Break the eye contact and not blink in that. And yeah, she's amazing. Do you have any other news about Beetlejuice 2?
Just the trailer that I guess it wasn't very long. We didn't get much in it, but I still feel it was a good teaser trailer.
Oh, it was a great teaser trailer. I got the goosebumps watching it, man. Like I'm excited for Beetlejuice 2. This is a movie I never thought they would actually do, because
Oh yeah,
Tim Burton really doesn't do sequels. But
Keaton's getting up there in age too. I'm surprised he even signed the deal.
Oh, dude, Keaton still looks great, and he
does.
Voice perfectly. He's that Beetlejuice is one of them characters I don't think anybody else on screen could play him.
Oh no,
and it'd be accepted. They tried that shit with Freddy in the new Nightmare movie with Robert Englund, who was Jackie Earle Haley, in the new Nightmare, and it just did not work.
Oh no, it didn't. And the actor wasn't right, and I really didn't like the costume and makeup that they did for him too. He just looked very not Freddy.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He didn't have the punchlines. And what makes Freddy awesome too is that, like, he's kidding, he's pretty much doing a pun or something like that. So it's like friggin' what do you call it? God, I can't even think of it right now. It's basically, it's making it so much worse. He's killing you and making fun of you at the same damn time.
Yeah. And that movie was just straight horror where, yes, whenever the first few Nightmares came out, they were strictly horror, but then they really just kind of went into a little bit of a comedy horror. Just a little.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it also seemed like Freddy became a child toucher in the movie instead of just a child killer.
Yeah.
And when it started feeling like that, I'm like, I feel so dirty watching this. I have to turn this off now.
Yeah. That kind of pushed me away from him too.
Yeah. And I like Jackie Earle Haley. He's a good character actor. Just you're not Freddy, dude. You're not.
No.
Raz is saying he's gonna do a video to call out Michael Keaton. You better watch it, dude. He is Batman. He is Batman.
Yeah.
He's already kicked the Joker's ass. He's kicked the Penguin's ass. He's gotten with Catwoman. It's yeah. You just careful with that one.
Those are hard shoes to fill.
They are. So okay, how about let's go ahead and start talking about Body Slam, the movie we are here to talk about this week. It is from 1986, directed by the great Hal Needham. Funny thing about Hal Needham, I did not realize You ever see me and Batman in the same room? I mean, you haven't seen me and Superman in the same room either, or but Raz could 100% be Batman, though. He could be.
Hey, you never know, man.
I mean, when I'm in the elevator and I see a Batarang come flying at my ass, I'm just, I'll accept it. How about that?
Yeah, I feel like that's a very valid statement.
All right. But yeah, Hal Needham, I did not notice actually until doing research for this movie, directed the director of Smokey and the Bandit 1 and 2, Cannonball Run 1 and 2, um, and a bunch of other like Burt Reynolds and other movies. He's actually a really famous, really good director. Did stunts, good stunt coordinator on a lot of movies. Directed this movie straight to video in 1986. The movie stars Dirk Benedict as H.M. Harry Smilac. Dirk Benedict is, of course, most well known for Face on the A-Team. Do you ever watch the A-Team, Matt?
I might be a little too young for that.
Oh, come on, man. With all this stuff out there now, you got to watch the A-Team. Especially you got to watch Mr. T. Mr. T is the reason why WrestleMania, to me, in my opinion at least, Mr. T is the reason WrestleMania succeeded the way it did, the first one.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People wanted to see Mr. T wrestle. Plus, he got him on Saturday Night Live and all these talk shows. So, yeah. We have Tanya Roberts, who plays Candice Vanderwegen. I don't know much about her. I know Tanya's been in a lot of stuff, but I really don't know too much about her. It looks like it's a lot of like cameos on Charlie's Angels and Love Boat and movies and shows in the 80s. I know she was a model and what they call her a bouncy queen in one of the articles that I read in the 80s.
Yeah. I didn't know that she was in the 70s show, that 70s show.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's God, I did not watch that 70s show, but she's the wife of the neighbor that Red hates so much.
Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, she's the wife of the neighbor. We have, of course, Roddy Piper. One of the first movies he did back in the 80s. I loved Roddy Piper growing up. He one of the bad guys that I loved to hate, at the first 3 WrestleManias. And just he always a great heel, always a great face, always just fun to meet too.
Oh yeah, Roddy's one of the greatest, man. When you come to talking about heels, you can't talk about heels without putting Roddy Piper in your mouth.
No, he's the epitome of heel. He's who every heel should study, and between him and Terry Funk, every heel should study the two of them before they get into wrestling.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Roddy Piper plays Quick Rick Roberts, basically the first wrestler that Mr. Smilac meets. Then we move on to Captain Lou Albano, who plays Captain Lou Morano in the movie. Captain Lou, of course, was a staple of WWF in the 80s. Was a wrestler in the 60s and 70s. Actually wrestled Andre quite often. Comes to WWF. He could just start. He's actually the manager. At the time, I believe he was still the manager of the Wild Samoans, Sifa and Afa and Sika, who are both still in the movie.
Yeah.
We got Barry Gordon playing Sheldon Brockmeister. That's the Barry Gordon I'm thinking of. He's actually very famous in wrestling circles because he was the agent to a lot of these guys, especially in the 90s with Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash introduced him to Goldberg. And that's when Goldberg started making really, really good deals with the companies. And funny fact, Vince McMahon hated this man because once he heard somebody was working with Barry Gordon, he knew he was going to have to pay money.
That just means that he wasn't putting up with any shit, man.
No. Barry Gordon was a very good agent, worked great things for these guys. Charles Nelson Riley as Vic Carson, the host of Ring Talk. We have Billy Barty playing Tim McCluskey, the little person manager, who actually, to me, he's hilarious in this movie. I know He's a comedian from the 70s and 80s. Used a lot when they needed a little person for a movie, and he's just great. Uh, John Astin in a very small part. Scotty John Astin, of course, very well known for as being Gomez from the original Addams Family. We have a very, for those who are wrestling fans, we have a very strong Anoa'i family uh, attendance in this movie. As we have Sam Fatu playing Tonga Tom. Tonga Tom or Sam Fatu did wrestle in the 80s as the Tonga Kid. Was a member of the Islanders at one point, but he is also the brother of Rikishi, the cousin of The Rock, all that good stuff. Um, Very good wrestler too. Danny
Oh
Crane
yeah.
playing Bitsy Vanderbergen, and of course we have Afa and Sika, the Wild Samoans or the Samoans, playing the Samoans in the movie. They are Mr. Kim's backup when something bad needs to happen. Uh, Great note: Sika of the Samoans is the father of the current WWF, was it Universal Heavyweight Champion is what they're calling it, Roman Reigns.
Hey man, that's some great bloodline right there.
You there, Matt? Yeah, I think you're muted.
Hello?
Matt, I can't hear you talking.
Can you hear me now?
Working out for you.
Am I coming through the
I
stream?
still
Or is it
can't hear
just
you, Matt. I don't know. Hold on. Maybe it's mine. No, it's not on my end. Yeah, I can't hear Matt.
hello? Testing, testing.
I still can't hear you, bud. Do you want to try backing out and coming back in? Because I can see you talking.
Yeah, I'm gonna back out and come back in real quick. Hello?
No, it might be my headphones.
But yeah, man.
Can you hear
It's
me?
like,
Yeah, I might. Let me try it.
so yeah, having the Wild Samoans as your lineage, it's just insane to me, man. Like the Anoa'i family is just so huge that you see all these wrestlers all the time, no matter who they are.
All right. Yeah, it might just be my headphone. We might have to cut it because my headphones are apparently not working. Because I can talk, but I can't hear you.
Do bada bing bow bow. And what we skipped over earlier, man, was Lou Albano. Um, he's done a lot of stuff for wrestling too, but we can't forget that in 1989 he was Super Mario for the Super Mario Super Show. And I just find that so funny, man. Like, this man is so versatile in everything that he does.
Yeah, I still can't hear. How about now, Matt?
Hello? Steven, I'm coming for you, pal. You have 7 days. Seven days to be exact, at the same exact time, 6:46. And if you do not comply with the efforts that I am giving you, you will die. Bow, bow, meow. Technical. 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 Difficulties. Technical. Difficulties. We're trying to figure this out as fast as we can, guys.
You there?
Yeah,
Oh, that worked.
there we go.
Jesus Christ. First time, right?
Oh, yeah, it's all right, man. It's episode 0.
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, like when it said muted at the top, like in the Windows
Yeah.
up top, it said muted, and I'm like, well, I didn't mute myself. The fuck is? All right, so we're done. We're talked about the cast, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start the movie. Body Save. Any thoughts before we start going into this?
I had no idea what to expect at first, man. Just off the description that you gave me, but once I watched it, man, there's some cheesy parts in here and there, but it's an 80s movie. That's comes with being an 80s movie.
That it does. It's a very campy comedy. Again, after the movie, we'll talk after I go through everything. We'll talk about some incidents that happened on set and a reason. There is actually a really silly reason as to why this movie went straight direct to video instead of to the theater. Um, but let's go ahead and get started. Feel free, Matt, to chime in whenever you want to bring something up. Remember a funny part or anything like that.
Okay.
So, for those who don't know, the movie is about a gentleman named M. Harry Smilek, played by Dirk Benedict. He's a down on his luck music producer who used to be at the top. Now he's kind of at the bottom. And he's a straight up con man. Plays a lot of con, plays a lot of games, does a lot of lying. And he meets up, and he basically ends up becoming a professional wrestling manager who creates technically the rock and wrestling circuit that, of course, Vince McMahon created back in the 80s. So, movie opens up with Harry Smilek driving around Los Angeles, Beverly Hills in a red Ferrari, just randomly driving, really just a montage while they played the credits. There was a funny incident where he stops at a red light and sees this beautiful blonde woman in a bikini standing off to the side, and pretends to make a phone call. She waves. He waves back at her. She gets up and starts walking towards him. He goes to open the car, and he opens the door for her. Turns out she's waving at the big muscle guy behind her as they're going to the beach, which I thought it's funny and kind of, starts painting that character as the, full of himself douchebag kind of.
Oh yeah. And that guy that that he ran into was not someone you want to mess with.
Nah, especially if you're like 90 pounds soaking wet. Yeah, he's just gonna get friggin' thrown into the ocean. So he drives around a little bit more, ends up parking at his office, hands the keys to a valet. Next thing you know, it turns out the valet is a repo man and hands him a subpoena as he's being sued. Repo man drives away with the car, takes it, all that good stuff. So it cuts to his office. He wants to talk to his attorney, Sheldon Brockmeister. Sheldon Brockmeister, of course, is Barry Gordon, the gentleman that Vince McMahon was not a fan of. Let's put it that way. It's the best way to do this. So he gets up there, yells to his secretary. He wants her to call him. All this stuff. Ends up going to visit Shelly, as he calls him. Shelly offers to help him with the subpoena. Ends up helping him with a subpoena, a loan, and then offers to lend him some money if he agrees to be the entertainment director for Senator Norton Wilshire's gubernatorial campaign. Harry refuses the deal because essentially Norton Wilshire is, in Harry's words, a schmuck. So from there, he goes to Scotty's English Auto to basically borrow a car from his friend Scotty, played by John Astin. And Scotty's just, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that because you've done this to me before. You set me up on a date. They know, they never showed up, all that good stuff. So he basically cons him. He goes, oh man, well, I got these Springsteen tickets and I have a date with two Vegas showgirls. Then if you let me, and basically Harry landlord's car is right there. So he goes, if you lend me Shapiro's car to go to the airport and pick up these showgirls, we'll meet up later at the concert, and I'll go ahead and bring Shapiro's car back afterwards. Scotty demands the whole, thinking he's smart, Scotty decides to hold the tickets, and as Harry pulls off, realizes they are not Bruce Springsteen tickets, they are for the Jewish Yodeling Festival.
That's got to be one of my favorite parts of the movie, man. Like, he thought he had him in a binge, too, man. And he just got played.
Well, it's like, for at one point he's going, man, no, fuck this. We're not gonna do this. We're not gonna play this game again. And then the next, he's like, oh wait, Springsteen tickets and a Vegas show, girl. Oh, I'm down for that. And then there's the kick in the balls at the end. It's like Jewish yodeling festival. God damn. And at that point, there's really nothing you can do except watch him drive off with the car. So then we move over. Then we move on. Harry returns home. He's got a date, and basically invites her to, hey, I got a jacuzzi in the back. I want to go for a dip in the jacuzzi. As they're walking off, all of a sudden we are introduced to Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim works for a Korean bank, or at least a savings and loan, that lost a court case against Harry for the sum of $67,811.19. We know this because Mr. Kim says that was what he wants, even though they've already lost essentially they lost a court case against Harry. So now he's basically the if you don't give us our money, I'm gonna bust your fucking kneecaps guy. So he tells Kim to basically fuck off. Kim then calls on his henchmen, played once again by the Samoans, Afa and Sika. Harry hides in the car because the Samoans are friggin' enormous. In case you guys didn't know that, like they are just huge. Harry hides in the car and threatens Mr. Kim with powerful friends. And one of my favorite lines from Mr. Kim: "I have powerful friends too, and much closer." Samoans rip the car door off, throw Harry on the ground, and then the Samoans end up they just proceed to tear the car apart with their bare hands. Any
Just
thoughts on that one?
absolutely, yeah. They just absolutely destroy that car, man. Like each part,
Yeah.
just limb for limb.
Yeah, they just take the fenders off, take the hood off, and just right in front of Harry. There ain't much Harry can do because these guys are like 3 of Harry. So we move on the next morning. We join Harry. He's on the phone, basically now taking the position from Shelley as you start hearing somebody bang mercilessly on the door. Superior bangs on the door, yelling, screaming at him. He wants him out of the office. Basically wanting to know what the hell happened to his car, all that good stuff. So then we cut to the convention center. Harry is going to meet with the booking director of the convention center to book a date for Senator Wilshire's fundraising event. And as he's waiting there, he meets Missy, uh, the niece of the next gentleman we meet, Rick Roberts, played by Roddy Piper. He's in there arguing with the booking director because essentially they lowered his pay. His pay didn't match what the gate said, which back in the territory days, Matt, I know you're too young for that to remember those days, but back in those days, a lot of the wrestlers' pay were based on how much they drew, how much the house drew, and everything like that. The wrestlers would get a portion, and of course, needless to say, the bookers very rarely told them the truth. They never really got an honest answer out of the bookers. The booker will probably make like $10,000-$15,000 on the gate, and they're like, guys, dude, we only make $5,000, and I can only afford to pay you $500 today. So Harry ends up busting in to the office and negotiating a better deal for Rick, and ends up getting him a lot more money, basically. So we cut to outside where Rick and Missy are waiting for Harry, and Rick Roberts ends up hiring Harry. Harry agrees, thinking he's a musician. What's another client to find music for? Talk about money, no problems with the money. Just literally hands him $500. Next thing you know, guess who appears but Captain Lou Morano, Rick's now old ex-manager. Morano's pissed off, is pissed that Rick is leaving him. threatens Harry, all that good stuff. And he's got one of his wrestlers with him who ends up breaking like Harry's cigar. Piper or Quick Rick Roberts knocks him out, knocks him into the fountain on his ass. Then there's a lot of cuts. I mean, the scenes don't last very long in this movie. Like I'd say each scene lasts maybe 5 or 6 minutes at most. It's a very quick moving movie. Um, and like I said, a lot of campiness, a lot of definitely the feel of 1980s wrestling in it. So now Harry shows up to the Wilshire events, where he's supposed to announce the entertainment for the fundraiser, basically who he's hired to perform at the fundraiser. Eliza says he wants it to be a surprise, but off in the distance he sees Tanya Roberts, Candice Vanderbergen in a swimsuit, uh, sun tanning, ready to, just looking beautiful. He goes over, starts hitting on her, gives his usual bullshit, says he's a manager of musicians and models and found Christy Brinkley. And this is where we find out that she is actually Bitsy Wilshire's son, or Bitsy Vanderbergen's daughter, the woman who hired Harry to put on the events. Um, so really, any notes, Matt?
Yeah, it's pretty great, man.
So now we meet Tonga Tom. They're in the gym. We meet Tonga Tom, uh, who essentially becomes Harry's second pro wrestling client. They go into a back room. Rick goes to work out, and the Cannibals show up. They are Cat Marano's top tag team. They are played by Sione. I cannot say this guy's last name, but he's the Barbarian essentially. Sione was actually one of the Islanders as well, teaming with Haku in the WWF. More well known in WCW. I'm saying back in WWF, he would be more well known as part of the Powers of Pain with the Warlord, and then in WCW when he teamed with Haku as the Faces of Fear, or Ming as the Faces of Fear, and I can't remember this other guy's name. He didn't wrestle very long. I know his last name was Khan. That's it. So moving on though, they really start harassing, confronting Rick about leaving the captain, and basically tell Rick, the captain doesn't like it when his wrestlers leave, right? And Rick looks and just goes, I really don't give a crap what the captain likes. This is what's happening. So they walk away. He goes to fight him, then he stops him. Tonga Tom and Harry come walking out of the back room. Tonga has agreed to be the second client, his newest client. Rick and Tonga are now a tag team, and Harry gets confronted by the Cannibals. The Cannibals are essentially going to beat the crap out of him to get him out of wrestling, until Rick appears behind him with a metal bar. Any thoughts on that scene, Matt?
Yeah, he got absolutely obliterated, man.
Yeah, they were. I mean, yeah, the guys they're big, they're huge. So we go to the convention center. Rick and Tom are in the middle of a match, and of course they win. It's just basically a squash. They just beat the crap out of the guys in the ring to show that they're to show that they're wrestling and all that good stuff. They let Harry know about a show called Ring Talk, hosted by Vic Carson. He said it's the top. It's the top show in the district or on TV. So guess what? He agrees to go. He just agrees to go on the show on Ring Talk. He's introduced as a new manager of the scene, but also on Ring Talk, the panel features Captain Lou Moreno and little person Tim McCluskey. Tim McCluskey. Um, Vic makes a couple of short jokes, which I thought was funny, but they're the typical little puns. Harry basically keeps his bullshit, his con job on the going on the wrestling show, talking all this, basically talking down to everybody like he knows everything. Needless to say, Captain Lou gets mad, calls him a pencil neck geek. Tim calls him a gay slur that we're not allowed to say in 2024. And basically Harry, right before they go to commercial, Harry says wrestlers deserve the bucks as they are the talent. They deserve more money because they're the talent. As it goes to commercial, Captain Lou Moreno gets pissed off, picks Harry and just fucking yeets him over the top rope and onto the floor. Thus, kind of, I don't know, necessarily breaking his neck, but he ends up in a neck brace.
Yeah, that whole thing with him being in a neck brace is just so hilarious to me, man. Because he plays it off so weird. He plays it off all cool at first, and then he's just talking in the car with the girl, and then out of nowhere, he's like, "Oh, my neck, man!" It's just he he's like the PT Barnum, man.
He did, like, Dirk Benedict did a great job playing this part and was like as the sleazy, con artist. But I just love the scene when they're in the ring talking. He just fucking yeets his ass over the top rope.
Yeah, and then they just get back from commercial break, and
Yeah,
he's just
he's like,
where'd
Harry.
he go? Yeah.
So we, like Matt just said, we go to Harry in a neck brace. He's finally announced. He's at another party announcing the singers who he has signed to appear at the fundraiser, and he tells them Frank, Neil, Barbara, and Julio. Needless to say, of course, leading people to believe that it is Frank Sinatra, Barbara Streisand, Neil. I would say Neil Young, and Julio Iglesias. More love. Then we switch over to more love interest development between Harry and Tanya. Harry asks her out, on a business lunch. He said it's strictly business. It's nothing, it's not a date or anything. It's just a business lunch, and that she could choose the place. Well, she chooses a drive-in burger joint, and she even got the drive. So they have lunch. They talk a little bit more, and then he fakes being hurt. So she takes him back to his house. And as Matt said, he gets out of the car and just goes into this really wonderful routine of a fake back spasm. And she gets out, picks him, and he goes, what'll help this? How about a dip in the jacuzzi? That'll help this. So how about you come with me? And she's, you know, thinking he's really hurt, picks him up, starts dragging him up, and guess who shows up? Mr. Kim. He basically, again, Harry tells Mr. Kim he's not paying him shit. And so the Samoans decide to take it upon themselves to essentially just toss Candace's mother's car just over the cliff. Just picked it up and fucking flipped it down a cliff. What'd you think of that one, Matt?
What was it? Sorry, there was a cat fight that just happened.
As in cats or women?
Both, man.
But basically we just talked about how when they got back to the house, she's offering to help him to the jacuzzi, because like that's not going to end up with her in the jacuzzi with him. And Mr. Lee shows up. He tells Mr. Kim shows up. He tells Mr. Kim he's not going to fucking pay him, and the Samoans just essentially pick Candace's mother's car up and just toss it off the cliff.
Oh yeah, man. That was some. I really like the cinematics on that. How they kind of got the slow-mo of it falling down into the ditch. They picked that up with like no effort too, man.
Yeah, and then just in the background the entire time you just have Candace. No, wait, don't do that, Harry. Do something. Like, what the fuck is Harry supposed to do? He's in a goddamn neck brace. All right, so needless to say, Bitsy wants him fired from the committee. The lawyer talks her out of firing him. Essentially because at this point, if you fire him, you gotta get a whole new concert going and everything like that. So she agrees, but Shelley has to watch him closely. So now we cut over and we meet the band Kicks. Harry Smilak's only clients until he signed with Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom. Kicks is basically your typical '80s garage band playing hair metal. And essentially, they're shocked to see him. He hasn't really done much for them. But he decides he says, "Oh, I got this great gig. You're gonna love it." Uh, and he says to trust him. And the last line is they say the last time we trusted you, we played the opening of a Dairy Queen.
Yeah, that does not sound like a good gig to have.
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, back in the '80s, it was Dairy Queen was a happening place. But I'm also again where I'm from. We have the highest grossing Dairy Queen on the East Coast, and it's only open like 6 months a year,
Yeah.
but it's like right on the beach. So, all right, and from there we pan over to the convention center again. It's time for the fundraising event. I love how basically they painted this Norton Wilshire, the senator who's running for governor. They painted this guy as just one giant fucking putz, and yeah, it's just straight up nobody likes this guy. He's the typical politician, exactly saying what you think a politician would go. But as they're walking in, the two young girls, one girl said, "Thank you for inviting me." Well, and the woman goes, "Well, the only reason my husband offered to cough up $500 for a putz like Wilshire is because of the show they have planned." Norton thanks him in his best politician voice. Harry then convinces Candace not to go to the concert and to go on a date with him instead. Uh, Harry basically wants nothing to do with what's going to go on inside that convention center. He is doing his best to get the fuck out of town. So she agrees to go with him. It goes inside, and the show's about to begin. Um, and it's funny because somebody comes out, or the announcer comes out and goes, "Hey, how about a few words from the gentleman of the evening, Norton Wilshire?" And people start throwing fucking veggies and salad at him because, needless to say, nobody wants to hear from a politician at this point.
Oh yeah, whoever really wants to hear from one, let's be honest.
Nah, I mean, we got enough bullshit in our lives. We don't need to hear from a politician as well. So Bitsy wonders who's going to go on first, Frank or Barbara. Shelley just looked and goes, "Yeah, Julio. Why the fuck would Frank Sinatra or Barbara Streisand go on after Julio Iglesias?" Next thing you know, the stage explodes in pyro and Kicks appear in just fantastic '80s hairband glory and start playing really heavy metal music, really '80s heavy metal music, and it's just great. It's great, the reaction of the pompous people in the crowd and everything like that.
Oh yeah, and they rocked that show too, man. I don't care if they didn't get the show that they wanted. They still kicked ass.
Oh, the soundtrack for this movie is great. It's great '80s glory. So, needless to say, Sheldon and Bitsy are pissed. The next morning, Candace tells, he's getting phone calls from everyone. Uh, Essentially, the deal's off the table with Shelley, so he doesn't get his car back. He doesn't get money or anything like that. Candace calls him and tells him hopes he has a good plastic surgeon because Bitsy is looking for him. So naturally, Harry shows up at the wrestling show dressed as a woman in a dress and a wig and everything, trying to hide from Bitsy Vanderbergen and everybody else in town. So Sheldon Sheldon called and Missy talked to Missy and said that they had to give back all the fundraiser money. Kicks called and they aren't happy either. So we go out to the match. Rick and Tonga go out without Harry. They go out without Harry to the ring, and they're supposed to face a team called the Invaders, but apparently there's been a replacement. Now they are facing the World Tag Team Champions, the Cannibals. Lou comes out with the Cannibals, both of them on like chain leashes to the ring. Harry's in the back. When they say the Cannibals, Harry comes running comes running out dressed as a woman, and he's talking to the ref saying, "No, we're not doing this. No, we didn't agree to this match." But it ain't gonna do you no good because Lou chases Harry off, and then the cannibals just fucking knock the shit out of the ref. After they knock the shit out of the ref, they proceed to beat the living crap out of Rick and Tonga. Beating him with chains, beating him in the ring. It's almost as bad as the beating Rock gave Cody on Monday. Bloody's Roddy Piper. Tonga goes to do a splash on him. They duck, and he just fucking flies over the top rope into the crowd.
My favorite part of this whole sequence, man, is whenever they throw him over the top rope and he starts choking him out. That looks so real, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, when they were hanging him with the chains, yeah, that was just great. Just a whole great scene in general of the cannibals being vicious and violent. So from there, basically, the cannibals just destroy him. Next thing you know, it's the next morning. Harry's got his Ferrari still. Gets out, starts walking into the hospital, trips, or he didn't trip yet. Next thing you know, somebody runs up, jumps into Harry's car, goes Smilac, and it's the repo guy again, waving the keys, repoing the Ferrari. As he's trying to stop the repo guy, he trips over this guy in a wheelchair, and the guy in a wheelchair can't talk, so he's just. So make sure he's okay. Harry goes into the hospital. Apparently, at some point, he actually kicked off the brakes to the wheelchair because the wheelchair just starts moving. And all you can hear in the guy, this is, again, one of my favorite parts of me, because this is just, it's cheesy, but it's so funny. The guy, as he's riding as he's going straight to the traffic, he's like, and all you hear is the, and Harry looks out and goes, "Oh my God." Well, at least he's right next to the hospital.
It's such a Smilac thing too, man. That was played off perfectly.
It was just, and it's just a random funny scene that worked. So Smilac goes up. Harry goes up to the room. We see Rick and Tonga Tom laying in a bed. They're essentially they're laid up. Rick has like a broken jaw. Tonga's playing cards or listen to Missy read a story. Harry comes in and just essentially he's feeling sorry for himself and ends up blaming himself for the attack, blaming himself for what happened because he pissed off Lou, and leaves them their contracts and tells them they should probably go get a different manager. Which they don't. They're both basically like, don't worry about it. It's an ass kicking. We always get ass. We get ass kickings all the time. It's fine. Hey, dude, you're laying in a bed with your jaw wrapped. So next morning,
I don't think that's your run of the mill ass kicking, man.
I mean, for Roddy Piper, maybe, because people used to try to stab him on the way to the friggin' ring.
Yeah, I definitely forgot about that one.
Yeah, like he would tell the story. They'd like use razor blades on his legs and that before he got to the ring, and that he had to actually like the leather jacket that they ended up giving to Ronda Rousey was a specially made jacket for Piper that he had to basically put metal bars in so people couldn't stab him on his way to the ring because he pissed that many people off.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude, these people in the 80s were vicious, man. Like, especially grandmas. These grandmas would fucking fight these guys. Like, if you ever watch old 80s wrestling, there's always an old woman in the ring in the crowd going, "Come on here, I'll kick your ass right now." You're like, "Calm down, grandma." So basically, it goes on to depressed Harry. 5 o'clock shadow, hair unkempt. Rick shows up to his house, goes down, and they have a nice discussion. He peps Harry up, like, "Come on, don't stop feeling sorry for yourself, and ends up telling him the truth. If you go away, my contract's going to go, if you leave us, my contract's going to go back to the captain, and essentially I'm done with wrestling. The only 2 things in this world that are important to me are wrestling and my niece Missy. So Harry says, yeah, but the problem is Captain has too much clout with all these big arena owners. The only way for us to make this work is if we go on tour town to town playing like second rinky dink, second rate places, and like my old band used to play. And then Harry got a great idea. He's gonna take Kick, and he's gonna take Kicks and Rick and Tonga on the road with him, and they're gonna go to these these dive bars, agricultural halls and all that good stuff. And one night's gonna be a rock concert. The next night's gonna be wrestling. So they start traveling in this really piece of shit school bus almost. So we get a montage of Rick and Tonga wrestling, traveling the road, traveling from town to town and all that good stuff. Then we get to the San Bernardo Arena. This is in one of those rinky-dink, very rural country farming town that has 4-H and all that stuff. And he's arguing with Elmo, the guy who runs the Civic Center or the arena in town, about they can't, he has to have 2 separate nights. They can't do a rock show and a wrestling event at the same time. So Elmo, basically he gets the, Elmo's like, no, we can't. We have a 4-H club event on this night, and we got the hog auction, which that gets like a really wild time when you get the hog auction going the next. So we go, and Harry gets the idea. He says, put your money where your mouth is. Okie doke. So we go to Harry and Missy walking around, putting up new signs that say, come to the arena on this date, and if you pin Rick Roberts, you will get $1,000. A lot of wrestling movies, especially movies back in the 80s and 70s, did this a lot, where they had a scene where, we will pay you $1,000 if you can last 5 minutes in the ring with this gentleman.
Well, that's how wrestling all got started, with the carnivals and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I love that they kept mentioning that, and it's a great nod, man.
It is, and it's like I said, it's something that happened in a lot of wrestling movies back then. Like there was a movie, I don't know if you've ever seen it, called All the Marbles. I think that's what it was called. It's a women's wrestling movie, and the girls end up in a mud wrestling match with another tag team, with the same premise. And it's like so many movies have this in it, but it's still good. It still works, especially because I love who shows up to fight Rick and Tonga. So we go, the night opens up, Kick's performing again, rocking the joint. Once again, I will say that the soundtrack to this movie is amazing, especially if you love 80s hair rock.
Oh yeah.
So we have the Kick concert next thing, and then we introduce, Harry brings out Quick Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom, and their opponent, and Elmo introduces their opponents for the evening. First, we have Pee Wee Hutchings, this really skinny, scrawny, like 85, 90-pound guy comes down, and his tag team partner is going to be his brother, Little Will Hudgens. Matt, how little was Will Hudgens?
Oh man, Will Hudgens. Oh, which one was he again?
Well, the skinny one was Pee Wee. Lil Will would have been his.
Oh man.
Yeah.
He wasn't the slimmest. I'll say that.
No, he had his own gravitational pull.
Yeah. We'll be nice. We'll be nice.
Sure. he was a big boy. He's a big boy. So we go on to the match. Quick Rick punches him a couple of times, and then what he doesn't see is Pee Wee, crouching down behind him in that typical bully, position. And Lil Will goes, "Hey man, what's going on? I thought we were supposed to shake hands first." Rick and Will Lil Will shake hands, and he pushes Rick, falls over Pee Wee, and Lil Will just friggin' jumps on top and starts squashing the man. Harry shows up and tells him, "Hey, Rick, you kind of got to fight back here. We don't got $1,000 to pay this guy." So they go, they keep running. And Rick's like, "You need to do something." And Harry's like, "Okay, I'm going to run to the bus. I'll be right back." What? Yeah, I'm going to get a contract. I'm going to sign this guy. This guy's great.
That was great.
So then basically he goes to kick and goes, "Look, basically in the match, there's a pipe organ playing the whole time like you'd get at a baseball game, So he goes to kick and tells them they need to start playing to drown out that pipe organ. And they're like, "Play what? Just whatever." So the pipe organ goes, and then Kick plays their guitars. And it just works. Rick and Tonga start coming back, and they end up pinning Little Will for the win. And everybody shakes hands and hugs. Huge crowd. The crowd's going wild. We cut outside where Elmo is like, "Man, that's the biggest crowd we've had in the stadium in a while. How about you guys come back? And Harry's like, "I don't know, Elmo. We have a lot of places to go." He hands Harry the check, and Harry goes, "We'll be in touch." And Elmo goes, "Oh, you can come on back on the 24th." Then they start driving away. "Oh no, you can't come back on the 24th. The 24th is artificial insemination night." And when I was a kid, I didn't know what artificial insemination was.
Yeah, that sounds like a crazy night. I'll just say that.
There's going to be a lot of kids born on the same day. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
And that is funny as hell. That's one of them movies now as an adult. Like now lines that now as an adult I can laugh at, but as a kid I'm going, "What the hell? What?
What is that?
Mom, what's artificial insemination?" Smack.
You'll find out when you get older, son.
So we cut to the group. They now have enough money. They buy our RV. They put a rock and wrestling sign on it. And before we get another montage of rock and wrestling, this time with the song for the movie Body Slam. What do you think of the song Body Slam?
It might just have to end up on my playlist, man. I really like the song.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. It was great. So it keeps going on. It does the montage of the Rock and then just beating guys over the course of a couple of weeks. Then it cuts to a bar. Harry orders a drink, and this gentleman comes up and starts talking to him, and it turns out he's a writer. And he wants to write an article on the band and the wrestlers. And Harry's like, "I don't know, we don't really do interviews." And then he mentions that he's with Rolling Stone. Needless to say, that changes Harry's tune really quick.
Oh, yeah. Anytime Rolling Stone is mentioned, I think it would perk up anyone's ears.
As it should. So basically they go outside and, they think, of course, then we go outside of a convenience store. Rick comes out with a copy of Rolling Stone showing them that they're on the cover, and they have a really huge article on them. And basically Rick goes, "Hey, well, Harry, what more do you want?" Harry says he wants the tag team titles. And Rick doesn't think the captain will give him a shot. He's like, "Yeah, let me handle that." So we cut the ring talk again. With the same people up there, of course. It's Harry on one side. Vic is in the center. And then we have Captain Lou and Tim. On this show, Vic says Harry has changed the face of wrestling with the rock and roll and the wrestling and everything like that. Of course, Captain Lou and Vic and Tim don't like it. Tim, again, uses a gay slur. But Harry instigates Captain Lou into a title match. And after Lou says, nobody will come see the Rock and Wrestling Major, he's like, "Oh yeah, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Prove it." Lou gets up and just knocks the little person right off the stool. Like, "Oh yeah, bam!" And Lou agrees to the match. And at first, Lou agrees that if Captain Lou, if the Cannibals win, Harry is out of wrestling for good, forever, for good. That's it. Harry raises the stakes, and basically it ends up being for the tag team titles, and whoever wins gets the contracts of both. Whichever team wins, the winning manager gets the contract of both teams. So essentially, if the Cannibals win, Captain Lou gets Rick Roberts and Tonga Tom's contracts, and will most likely tear them up and kick them out of wrestling. So we cut to another scene where Harry shows up to Candace's house, hiding his voice, pretending to be a gardener or a flower delivery man. Candace ends up going on another date with him to the beach. They kiss, all that good stuff. Harry gives Candace an envelope, and it's his part of the purse if they win, to cover the money that he cost the senator and Bitsy at the fundraiser. Basically, he's becoming a good guy now. He's not a con man anymore.
Yeah. He's learning from his ways, I guess.
Sure. It didn't. Yeah, there wasn't really much development in the movie of that, but that's the whole. I think it's more along the look. I really want to get in your pants, and your mom is gonna murder me the next time she sees me. So here's a couple $1,000s that I cost. Them.
Yeah.
Can we get her to leave me alone now?
Hey, somebody handed me $2,000. I feel like I could burn a bridge real quick.
little bit, especially 1980s $2,000.
Yeah.
So we cut to the convention center to the big night of the big wrestling, or the big event. Lou shows up in a very expensive car. Harry hides because he doesn't want, Captain Lou to beat the shit out of him in the parking lot. And next thing you know, guess who shows up? Mr. Kim. Harry pretends to get out of Lou's car, and Mr. Kim gets out and basically says he's tired of Smilex games. He wants the money now. Harry said, Harry's been making a lot of money on the circuit, that he needs to pay him now. And Harry says, you become a pain in my ass, and you're not going to touch another one of these cards, or else he's going to have him deported, is the nicest way to say it.
Yeah.
Because he goes, I paid $85,000 for this car, and if there's one little nick, I'll have you deported back, So naturally, the Samoans grab the jaws of life. These dudes just have a set of the jaws of life just sitting in the back of the fucking car, of a fucking truck. And it leads us to believe that Captain Lou's car is not there anymore. Or if it is, it's just a cube.
Yeah.
So now we get introduced to the wrestlers in the crowd who came to watch this very important match. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Classy Freddie Blassie, which I think I don't know if you know who that is, Matt.
I've never seen him wrestle before, but I've seen his face a lot in wrestling.
He in the 80s he would have been a manager. He actually managed the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov.
See that's where I know him from.
Yeah. And he was really good. He always called everybody pencil neck geeks and that. Sheik Adnan Al-KC wrestled mostly in AWA. You wouldn't have really known him. I think the only thing he ever really did in WWF was he came and played General Mustafa. The general who managed Sergeant Slaughter during the whole Iraqi.
I knew he looked familiar to me. I just couldn't pinpoint where he was from.
Yeah, that's the only probably most notable national coverage he got outside of the AWA. I can't remember what he was named. It was General something, but because I know Colonel Mustafa was actually the Iron Sheik, and of course one of the greatest world champions of all time, Bruno Sammartino.
I was not expecting that, but man, what a legend!
And he had lines. Like Ric Flair just freaking sat there. They gave Bruno lines. So we go to the commentary booth. Vic is doing the play-by-play, and he introduces Tim doing color. And every time Vic asks Tim a question, he just cuts him right off. So they go to commercial, and Tim basically grabs Vic by the tie and goes, "Look, you son of a bitch! If you interrupt me one more time, I'm gonna fucking deck you." Which I'm sorry, if a little person threatens to deck me, I'm gonna laugh my ass off.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there, little guy.
Unless they have a cane, which which is
Yeah.
proved to shown in the next thing you're probably about to talk about.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny too. So, let me get to the ring. There we go. We got a kick playing in the ring. Their crowd is dancing. You know, everybody's rocking out. It's a great song again. Um, and halfway through the concert, of course, Lou and the Cannibals come out and they start destroying the band's equipment. Vic, you know, they go to the color commentary, but Vic is disgusted by this display and says, "Why not let the kids play?" We go back to this ringside real quick, and for some reason, Bruno Sammartino just punches the shit out of a guy for absolutely no reason, and people in the crowd start fighting. I'm like, what the? Like, all the dude did was touch his shoulder, and he just winds up and decks him.
And that wasn't no soft punch either. That he got mollywopped.
He just fucking. That's like almost like that night of CM Punk with the dude, like, someone like punched him in the arm, and he turned and accidentally like punches the wrong guy in the face.
Yeah.
But yeah, now people in the crowd are fighting. They're destroying the equipment. The ring announcer runs back, tells Rick and Tonga Tom that, you know, the band's getting attacked. They go running, and now the match is on. And it's not a long match. It's what it needed to be exactly. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the part. So Vic goes to basic back during the big brawl in the crowd. And that Vic is in the booth and says he's going to go tell Harry and try to get the kid some help. Tim just knocks him out with a fucking cane. He just levels him with it, and looks shot and goes, "Okay, I guess I'm doing this by myself now." We cut away. We come back, and now there's another guy in the booth with him. I know the guy's name. I really do. But he goes, and now joining me in the commentary booth because Vic is incapacitated. Vic starts getting up, thump. So yeah, now back where we're the match is going on. You know, shit's going on outside. Lou's chasing down Harry. Lou's beating the shit out of Harry at this point. The match is going on. You know, the Cannibals are winning. Lou goes to kick Harry in the chest again, and Harry just kicks him right in the balls. Needless to say, that's going to drop anybody.
Oh yeah.
I don't care how tough you are. If you get a good shot, good swift kick in the nuts, you're going down. So they start doing, you know, more wrestling moves and that. Great slow motion clothesline from Barbarian to Tonga Tom. That was great. They're double teaming Tonga. Basically, it becomes a regular tag match at this time where guys are on the outside, except for, of course, the Cannibals are double teaming Tonga. The ref stops Rick from getting in the ring. Barbarian hits that awesome top rope splash he used to hit. They finally get the tag. Rick comes in like a house of fire. They end up getting them both in a double bulldog. They get I'm sorry. Rick picks up Hammer, and Tonga jumps from the top rope and splashes him almost into like a side suplex. Rick and Tonga win the tag team titles and the Cannibals contracts. And do we have any more closure in the movie?
No, I think that's about it. And I'm pretty sure the end credits just start rolling.
The end credits just start rolling, right there, like nothing else. You know,
no
nothing else in the movie.
context or anything, man.
It's like, well, did he and Candace get together? Did, you know, Captain Lou live up to his, you know, end of the deal? We don't know. All right, so that's the end of the movie. got a few notes on this real quick. You're gonna love a couple of these stories, Matt. So, like I said, Hal Needham is your director. Uh, Directed a lot of worked a lot with Burt Reynolds. Was a coordinator. Directed Smoking the Bandit 1 and 2, Cannonball Run 1 and 2, Stoker Ace, and Body Slam was actually one of his last movies that he directed. So why did Body Slam not get released in theaters and go straight to direct to DVD or direct to VHS at the time?
Why?
Well, the film was put out by Orion Pictures. They loved it and had high hopes for a summer release. So the interview, basically this all comes from a Slam Sports article in 2006 that Dirk Benedict did, or was interviewed by one of their writers. The writer asked him, what caused it not to release. He goes, it's so reflective of how precarious the show business can be. The writers were two lawyers who came up with a great idea and wrote the script. Hal and I knew it needed work. Basically, the script needed some changes to a lot of the dialogue. The lawyers were new and didn't understand the creative process. Scripts are just blueprints, not written in stone, and quite often they get changed many times during the course of filming.
Yeah.
That's why if Raz was here, we could ask him, to elaborate on that because he's, been with them in the movie industry and that. But it's common sense,
Yeah. Just because you have a script doesn't mean you see actors all the time go off script and make awesome movie moments that they just keep in the movie because it was just a great timing.
Oh yeah, I mean one of the best scenes in have you seen Life of Brian? Monty Python's Life of Brian.
I don't think so.
Well, there's a scene where they bring Brian in, and the Caesar, basically the emperor at the time, has a speech impediment where he talks almost like Elmer Fudd, where he can't say the letter R.
Oh,
And people make fun of him the whole movie because of it. Because he pretty much talks like this. And he says, in the movie, basically the movie's about Brian who mimics the life of Jesus. Like his life mimics the life of Jesus. Born the same time, all that good stuff. And
yeah.
the scene, he says, his father's name is Gluteus Maximus. That's what his
Yeah.
at the beginning of the movie, that's what his mother told him his father's name was, and that he was a Roman gladiator. So he tells Emperor this or Caesar this, and Caesar looks at the guard because the guard slaps him. He goes, well, do you have anybody in your regiment that has that name? He goes, no, sir. It's a joke name, like Gluteus Maximus or Bickus Dickus. Well, what's the name? What's wrong with the name Bickus Dickus? I have a great friend in Rome called Bickus Dickus. He starts walking around the room because he starts yelling and jumping on the soldiers for laughing. All the Roman soldiers are extras. What you find out later is that all these guys during filming were told, don't you fucking laugh. If you laugh once during this scene, you're not getting paid. And this guy starts walking up, getting in these guys' faces, and they're already struggling not to laugh. Do you think it's funny when I say the name? And he's like all up in this guy's face, like his nose is touching his cheek. Bickus. And finally, after like 5 minutes of this scene, he says the wife's name, and everybody just blares out laughing, just dying. So, back to what you said, improv in a movie scene, yes, it has helped so many movies.
Oh yeah, even when it comes to Thor Ragnarok too, some random kid that they had on the set one day, just when they were shooting the Coliseum scene, just told Chris Hemsworth he's just a friend from work, and then that's what he says in the movie too, man. And they kept it in, and that's one of the best lines of the movie.
Yeah, and well, so basically moving on, what these guys, Hal and I changed much of the original dialogue, according to Dirk. Created a lot of the scenes on the set. all which greatly improved the film. But apparently the lawyers didn't like that, and they were very angry about it. So at the end of filming, before they could release it in the theaters, the lawyers took Hal to court. And needless to say, court cases will drag on and on and on. And they ended up missing all the summer release dates. Hal ended up winning the court case, but the delay destroyed the film's chances for a theatrical release. So it ended up, unfortunately, going straight to video.
Man,
Which, yeah,
another lawyer ruining something, man.
2 of them.
Come on.
Yeah, so basically, I think if I remember, the budget for this was almost 14 million, I think. It wasn't much. I mean, for 80s money, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they didn't, needless to say, they didn't recoup. Because, like I said, because these lawyers going straight to video, you're not going to make as much money as you are in the theaters, especially in the 80s in the theaters where that was, you don't have streaming. We didn't have streaming, we couldn't just go, we didn't have whatever we wanted to watch at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Like, you had to go to the theaters if you wanted to see a movie, or wait 6 months for it to come on VHS.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's the reason why Body Slam did not get a wide release. It only got a VHS release. So, how about a couple of physical altercations on set?
Let me hear them.
Well, the first one. So they were shooting a scene. They were shooting the scene where Harry Smilac first meets Roddy Piper and forces himself on him as his manager, thinking he is a rock and roll musician. The younger of the 2 lawyers was berating Hal, like yelling at him over the scene, going at him about how he was shooting the scene. Apparently, Dirk Benedict lost his temper, grabbed the guy, slammed him against the wall, and told him, "How dare you question Hal's ability to make a funny movie?" And just to get his dumb ass upset and let us make the film.
Yeah.
Apparently, Roddy had to pull him off the guy, and he became a great hero to the wrestlers and the rest of the crew. They even had T-shirts made that said "Dirk Benedict kicks ass."
That's great.
The lawyer, producer, writer never did come to the set again, but they did get their revenge in the end by, of course, suing Needham for the charge changes, which ultimately led to the film not being released theatrically, and of course destroyed their own budding careers as film moguls.
Yeah.
If you search their names, I had their names. I didn't think it was important to the story though. They each one only have like 1 or 2 more credits after this, and it's as like art directors or producers. It's nothing major on movies we've never heard of. The second one, this is going to start funny because Dirk Benedict Dirk Benedict didn't know wrestling was fake.
Oh, that's great.
The secret wasn't revealed, I guess, a year or so earlier. Hulk Hogan made a guest appearance on the A-Team, of course, Mr. T,
Yeah.
and that. And I guess nobody decided to tell Dirk Benedict, "Hey, this shit's fake, dude." So, the code was kept. You better believe it, he says. In fact, during Hogan's shoot, one never even discussed the possibility of that wrestling wasn't completely real. For me, the issue was first raised during the movie. However, then it was dealt with in a typical pro wrestling fashion. So, during the final match, basically, it took like a lot of time to film.
Yeah.
They got to film in different angles, different areas, and they have to redo the stuff. There were 2,000 or 3,000 extras in the arena, and shooting the scene involved many different camera setups, angles, and required wrestlers do moves over and over, and it became obvious that they weren't really hitting each other. So basically, people could see the blows being pulled. The audience began to giggle and laugh. I'm sitting quietly watching, waiting for when I will be needed. When all of a sudden, there's a confrontation between Roddy Piper and one of the cannibals.
Oh, shit.
Some shoving and words are exchanged, and all of a sudden, a real fight breaks out between the 4 wrestlers, and they're exchanging real hits, and real blood begins to flow. Hal Needham, who basically, it's getting frustrating. They get angry. Like, how many fucking times I got to body slam this guy?
Yeah.
So the 4 guys start fighting. Hal Needham, who weighs all of us 160 pounds, but is an old stunt guy, has no fear, jumps in the ring and tries to stop it. One of the wrestlers, I forget which one, grabs him and tosses him against the ropes, and the assistants hustle Hal out of the ring. Some of the wrestlers who are watching jump in the ring and break up the fight after a couple minutes. The audience is stunned, silent, gasping. Things get calmed down, and we continue the day's work. Later that night, I mentioned to Roddy how scary it was, how scary it was, and how fortunate no one got hurt, and asked him what the fight was about. He smiles at me, winks, and explains, "Yeah, that the real fight was all fake."
Oh my fucking god, that's great.
So basically, because kayfabe was still a thing in 1986, these guys, these guys start a fight, uh, pretend to beat each other. They blade all that good stuff, and next thing you know, yeah, a fight breaks out. And it's basically because they didn't want people in the audience thinking that wrestling was fake.
Yeah, which is a valid point, man.
It is. These guys already got to deal with that shit on a daily basis at the shows. You don't need to come to a fucking movie set, and have 3,000 people who probably don't watch wrestling to begin with go, look at this shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the two fights on set. That's really all we have this week. Of all the news, everything that happened on set, and that, like, it's just Hollywood gets crazy sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So Matt, what did you think of the movie?
I thought it was a great movie, man. I didn't like the ending so much, only because they had to cut it. They didn't give you any backstory or anything like that. But let's be honest, man. A lot of the '80s movies jump once the conclusion is set. It's just a freeze frame, just like this one. And so I didn't mind it. Not mind the little freeze frame bullshit at the very end, but it was a great movie. Like, I love the way that Dirk Benedict played Smilac and all the different cameos and everything like that. Shout out to Roddy Piper for doing such a great job playing Quick Rick Roberts. Like, was that was that the first movie he did, or did he do something before that?
I think he may have done a couple of TV shows or something, but I believe this is his first starring role in a movie because I can look it up real quick. I know he went on to do They Live in the late 80s and Hell Comes to Frogtown. Yeah, because They Live and Hell Comes to Frogtown both are 1988. So I believe, yes, that this is. I'm just going to make sure. Da, da, da. He's got so much shit in here. His first movie was actually in 1978 as Leatherneck Joe Brady, but he wasn't credited. So the first movie, he was in the music video Cyndi Lauper, Goonies Are Good Enough. But yeah, I believe this is actually his first movie because we're at 1985. Yes, it is his first movie.
So for him having this star role and coming just like straight from wrestling, I feel like he did a great job and in his acting ability. Even like his wordings came out clear. I don't know how many times they shot it, but I feel like it's Roddy Piper, so if he treats it like a promo, he can get it first try every time.
Yeah. So final rating for the movie for you out of 5.
I would give it a solid 3 out of 5 body slams, man.
Yeah, I can see that. Like there's places where the movie misses. Again, I liked it so much better as a kid than I did watching it, as an adult. I was so excited when I found it again on the streaming services a couple of years ago, and it's definitely a movie I love to have in the background. as I'm doing something, because this way I have the noise, I have something I enjoy, and I'm getting done what I need to get done.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, as a kid, I loved this movie. I watched it every time it was on HBO or Showtime or anywhere. Um, I didn't even understand half of it, but it's like, look, dude, I was raised on 80s wrestling. Between WCW and WWF, or NWA and WWF, I was raised on this stuff. Um, and I remember Roddy Piper just because when he was beating the snot out of Mr. T at WrestleMania 2,
Yeah.
and for him, because he hadn't even turned face yet before I saw this movie. He turned face shortly after, before he did his quote unquote retirement match against Adrian Adonis at WrestleMania 3. Um, that's the retirement that I realized, that just because a wrestler retires doesn't mean they're retired.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, the movie, the soundtrack's great. It's a fun watch, definitely. Not a movie you got to go around, what's the meaning of this part? What is the meaning of this? No, it's exactly what it
It's
is.
just a fun movie, man.
Exactly. It's just a fun, campy movie from the 80s. I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go a little further. I'm gonna say 3.5 headlocks.
Very solid.
It's and again, it's one of those nostalgia movies for me. Just brings back so many good memories. But I think that's gonna wrap it up. SmackDown starts in a few minutes. I think we both need to get seats in front of the TV, as this is the final SmackDown in front. Before WrestleMania. What do you think of that fight this afternoon between AJ and LA Knight?
I was surprised to hear the words that were coming out of their mouth. Saying AJ saying "fuck you" to LA Knight. That does not seem TV 14, and LA Knight calling him a pussy afterwards. and
And
AJ's nose was absolutely messed up too, man.
which is weird, because they didn't throw any punches.
Yeah, I don't even know how he got his nose all messed up, man.
It just wrestling around, dude. Like, it used to happen, as when you were a kid, you'd always come up with like a bloody nose or something if you wrestled around too hard. And they were trying to make it look, as legit as possible, because it was essentially just a wrestling match. Really, it wasn't really a whole fight or anything. But yeah, when he said when AJ said he's gonna fuck him out, I'm just like, AJ, you're a Christian. Which I just thought it was hilarious hearing that come out of his mouth. But yeah, it's them getting more, more edgy.
Yeah, and I love to see it, man.
But okay, Matt, thank you for joining me this week. It was a great time.
Oh yeah, man, I had so much fun.
It is. Hopefully everybody enjoys the first episode. Those who are, well, nobody's with us anymore, but those who were with us at the beginning, before the microphone difficulties and headphone difficulties on my end. It was on my end, by the way, everyone. Once I backed out and came back in, it fixed itself. So, Matt, where can they find you?
You can find me on the Outlight Network for Mats and Monsters, as well with Steven here as well. You can find me on Facebook at Matt. You can find me on all socials for as Matt Props, and you can find me just like Wednesday, right next to LA Knight, saying yeah.
He is your favorite.
Well, man, it's just it's animosity, man. I haven't had a wrestler I've loved in a long time, and he just came onto the scene. I just love him, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good guy to get behind. He's really good, and he can talk and all that good stuff. But you can find me at the Bloody Binge Podcast everywhere, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube. Actually, I don't think on YouTube it's Sewer Dweller. On Facebook, you can find me in the Facebook group, the Bloody Binge Podcast, or you can look up Stephen Stephan Henderson. Join us hopefully in 2 weeks. I believe we're going to go for a horror movie in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, Matt, you're always welcome to join. Raz, of course, is always welcome to join. And a lot of people I know. I mean, I'm not going to turn away guests, because I mean, the more people, the more people on a podcast, the better it's going to be, because you can play off
Exactly,
each
man.
other. So once again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us this week, guys. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.